Oleg, a serviceman in his 30s, and Alyona, a beautiful woman with short dark hair, are on a date in Moscow. Oleg reveals that he comes from a wealthy family with a military background, and he serves in the 45th Special Forces Airborne Brigade unit. Alyona seems impressed, and they head back to his place when suddenly the world is plunged into darkness except for Russia and a few neighboring countries. As drones fly around and police sirens go off, Oleg and Alyona rush to the apartment lobby and watch the news report the distressing calamities and the uncertain fate of the world. Major Dolmatov sends more soldiers to investigate, warning reporters to stay behind, who join nonetheless. Over 1 billion Russians are missing a month into the strange event, prompting the creation of a quarantine zone named the Circle of Life to protect remaining citizens. However, many religious citizens leave in panic and resort to prayer, fearing the end of the world. Oleg receives a letter to report for duty and leaves behind his mentally ailing mother for the mission. As Oleg heads to the outpost, he sees the city in chaos with deployed soldiers attempting to maintain order. There, Colonel Marina Osmoslovskaya from the main intelligence directorate informs the deployed soldiers of the situation at hand, including several encounters with an unknown enemy. After recon, autopsies on recovered bodies revealed the deaths were caused due to poisoning by indigenous neurotoxins using chemicals produced within the body. The soldiers are tasked with collecting data to help scientists determine what they are dealing with, further into the quarantine zone with limited resources. Oleg and his fellow soldier Yuri Grubov discuss the eeriness of the woods, and much to his surprise, Oleg's date from a month ago, Alyona, a military surgeon, accompanies them on their mission when alarms sound off. Continuing from the opening scene, multiple hostiles seem to be closing in and detecting strong radiation, prompting soldiers to rush to their duty station. In the chaos, they soon realize that the enemy is the massive herd of bears emerging from the forest at 20 kilometers per hour. The following morning, Oleg survives the bear attack and awakens to find himself under a massive dead brown bear. Sadly, not all his fellow soldiers have made it, and Oleg has suffered a severe leg injury that Alyona tends to. In a conversation between the colonel and the major, it is revealed that survivors from the edge of the quarantine zone in Moscow have developed strange abilities, receiving data from an unknown source. One of these survivors, Sasha, seems to have a psychic connection to the unknown attackers and is brought to a military hospital for observation and potential use. In the hospital, Sasha awakens from a nightmare and sees a man before him named Zhenya, who claims to have been sent by someone called Eid. Zhenya warns Sasha that a second wave of attackers is coming, which will destroy all those left in the quarantine zone. Together, they must stop it from happening. Zhenya tasks Sasha with locating Eid's brother Ra, who is the mastermind behind this attack. Sasha is alarmed and calls for help from the soldiers, but Zhenya is not visible to them as he contacts Sasha through his mind. The soldiers think that Sasha is hallucinating, so they call for his doctor instead. In the bunker, Oleg and Yuri discuss the bear attacks and their families. Alyona joins in and asks Yuri to give Oleg and her some privacy so she can change his bandages. Soon after, the soldiers, including Oleg, head out to the outskirts of the quarantine zone in tanks and choppers. As they depart, Yuri gives an interview to a journalist, Olia, from the press accompanying the team, revealing that he was a taxi driver before becoming a soldier and is indifferent to the mass human fatality. As the soldiers land, they are confronted by the dire state of the quarantine zone, and the resulting coverage triggers a wave of panic and violence across the public. In response, the military issues a statement that they are fighting an unknown group of individuals with advanced weaponry. To gather intel, they dispatch small recon groups to set up bases throughout the area. During their mission, tensions rise between Ola and one of the soldiers, but Yuri diffuses the situation. However, a soldier from another team is injured when pipes fall on him, and Alyona tends to him while the team sets up surveillance equipment. The following day, Yuri discovers that the store door was open during the night, despite being shut upon their arrival, and asks Olia for footage. As Sasha recovers, he meets with Eid, who reveals himself to be an alien with the ability to locate Ra, the mastermind behind the attacks. When Eid is discovered by Marina and her soldiers, he uses his powers to turn their guns on the colonel with a promise to explain everything if they spare his life. Meanwhile, Yuri and another soldier find evidence of someone raiding the store and set up a trap with grenades. During questioning, it explains that his people sought refuge on Earth after their home planet was destroyed. However, their arrival unleashed a radiation that turned humans outside the circle of life into mindless puppets controlled by Ra. He warns of a final attack with the alien army due to arrive the following day. The grenades in the supermarket go off, and in the wreckage, soldiers come across a 14-year-old boy who claims to be a survivor searching for food, and Lieutenant Maxim questions him about what happened. At the outpost, Oleg prepares to lead his unit into the quarantine zone after inquiring about the well-being of his fellow soldiers, while Aliona urges him to be careful. During Eid's interrogation, Marina asks if he prevented the biological attack of Wave Zero. Eid responds that it worked very well, wiping out or enslaving a superior species before humans even existed, hinting at an ancient civilization that built the pyramids and underwater cities. In the apartment, the boy realizes that Lieutenant Maxim is in charge and sneakily grabs his knife, thrusting it into the lieutenant's throat. The surrounding soldiers open fire, killing the boy before he can harm anyone else. Meanwhile, it explains that humanity is the perfect weapon for the aliens, who genetically engineered human DNA to create a truncated version of themselves. Yuri radios a soldier on the roof to inform him of what occurred. The soldiers reports an army of armed people approaching the apartment building. Defensive weapons are readied as they peer out the window and see the horde drawing near. It tells Marina that humans lack mercy and compassion, and that waves 1 or 2 are designed to eliminate everyone except for slaves useful for the alien cause. Oleg protects Aliona as they brace for an attack from the sky. The soldiers stationed in the apartment and other areas find themselves surrounded and under merciless attack. Oleg tries to persuade Aliona to take shelter, but she rushes to aid a wounded comrade. Oleg defends them and manages to get the injured soldier to safety before the situation worsens. As robotic ammunition runs out, the army struggles to deter relentless onslaught. Yuri orders Olia to seek cover, and many soldiers lose their lives in the attack. An explosive device is hurled at the apartment building, taking out more soldiers, leaving Yuri and Olia the sole survivors in the room. Id implores Marina to accept the harsh reality of their situation and come up with a plan to survive. She questions his claims and wonders why he is sharing information with her since he is responsible for the apocalyptic events. He responds, revealing that he was not alone on the ship when he arrived to oversee their plan on Earth 200,000 years ago. Desperate and out of ammunition, the soldier on the roof seeks ideas from his comrades, and Oleg steps in. He crawls to retrieve an enormous gun from a bag nearby and fires a shot to stop the barrage of attacks. It admits that Ra is controlling the minds of the people outside the circle of life, and that he needs Sasha's assistance to locate and neutralize him. When Marina receives a call informing her that her recon teams were attacked, it explains that the offensive tactic is futile and leaves the next course of action up to her. The soldiers emerge from the wreckage and continue to fight, but then a large group of people under the control of Ra continue the attack on them. Yuri instructs Olia to release the flare signal while he defends her. The outpost receives signals from all sides, including the one sent by Olia, marking the official beginning of the war. Yuri commands Olia to follow him to the roof, joining 2 other soldiers as the enslaved humans retreat. As they discuss the gravity of their situation, it becomes clear that they are on their own. Eid and Marina depart in the helicopter, and he reveals that he can cure fatal diseases, having previously cured the once paralyzed Xenia, who since then has willingly helped him. He believes that helping people with free will is an advantage over the enslaved humans. Marina brings Id to the outpost and explains to the Major that he can help them. Each seeks Sasha to extract information about Ra's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Yuri and his team plan to link up with other teams to increase their numbers and chances of survival. Eid accesses Sasha's mind and discovers that Ra is on the roof of a skyscraper in Kirov. At that moment, Ra realizes he has been discovered, and Sasha passes out from exhaustion. Yuri's team advances, killing anyone in their path. Shortly after, the team is ambushed, and only Yuri and Olia survive. Eid shares all of his information with the Major and reveals his true alien form to gain his trust. Another soldier arrives to report the deaths of multiple teams and the collapse of various posts. With no other option, the Major puts his faith in Eid to lead them forward. When Sasha awakens, he informs Eid that Ross saw him, and Eid urges him to stay back for his own safety. The Major and his team move toward Ra, leaving behind a few soldiers. Yuri and Olia take refuge in a garage where Olia discovers a functioning car. However, Yuri must tend to his injury before they can continue. After discovering E's decision to leave Sasha behind and realizing his life is in danger, Marina orders the tanks to stop and go back for him. Unfortunately, it is too late, and missiles are seen flying overhead in the direction of the outpost. Marina and the Major watch in horror as a defining missile hits the outpost, killing their comrades. She is enraged with Ed and points her gun at him, but he calmly explains that leaving Sasha behind was necessary for their survival and for mankind's chance to win the war. Meanwhile, Yuri and Olya head back to Oleg's Team 4. They find the base completely destroyed, but are relieved to discover that Oleg, Alyona, and another soldier have survived. The surviving outpost soldiers, led by Marina and the Major, reach and inform them that the outpost was destroyed by a massive missile strike. When Yuri sees Id's face, he aims a gun at him in reflex, but Marina intervenes and tells him that Id is their ally. The group gathers together and drives back to Kirov, and during the journey, Ed speaks to Yuri through his mind, acknowledging him as the strongest in the group. Alyona and Oleg try to support each other during this difficult time. As they approach Ra's location, Ed warns the Major that Ra may have assumed Ed was dead post the attack on the outpost, but is still likely to have heightened security measures in place. As the team approaches the tower where Ra is located, they are confronted by an armed crowd of people who are under Ra's control. A suicide bomber detonates a tanker nearby, and the team is ordered to press on until they reach Ra. They fight their way through the hordes of mind-control individuals and eventually reach the tower. Ed leads Yuri, another soldier, and Xenia to the rooftop while the rest of the team stays behind to guard the entrance. A fierce gun battle ensues between the soldiers and the mindless masses, with the wounded sniper joining the fight on the ground. Despite the seemingly endless waves of attackers, the Major refuses to retreat. He assigns Oleg to lead the others to safety while he and two of his men stay behind to buy time. On the rooftop, Yuri attacks Ra, but Ra easily throws him aside. Ed and Ra engage in a brutal fight while a truck carrying barrels of gasoline makes its way towards the tower entrance. The Major and his two soldiers try to stop it but are killed when it explodes. In the chaos caused by the explosion, Ed manages to remove a device from Ra's chest, allowing Yuri to insert a grenade that ultimately kills Ra. With Ra dead, Ed sends out a telepathic pulse that deactivates all of the remaining drones, causing them to collapse. Marina asks Ed what they should do next, to which he replies that they will do what they were created to do: kill. It explains that humans evolved to a point where they became a threat to the aliens, and in response, Ra created a religion based on love to keep humanity peaceful. However, humans distorted religion into a reason for more conflict and violence, so Id orders them now to kill the colonizers upon their world. Xenia, upset by Id's command, questions why Id did not arrive earlier to save the 8 billion people who perished. It explains that arriving earlier would have interfered with the plan and activated the ship's defense system. He then unveils his new plan for the survivors to kill the colonizers and start a new civilization with Id as their deity. Xenia attacks Id with a knife but mistakenly stabs and kills Marina, manipulated by the image Id conjured with his psychic powers. Furious, Oleg tries to attack Id, but Yuri intervenes and the two engage in a fight. To stop him from defeating Oleg, Olya shoots Yuri, injuring him. Xenia then attempts to kill Id, but he puts Xenia in a chokehold, so Oleg shoots Id, but he creates illusions of himself as Oleg's father to distract him. In this moment, Xenia lunges at the real Id, sending both of them off the roof to their deaths. The surviving four witness a colossal alien spaceship landing next to the skyscraper, and the extracted device from Ra's chest beeps. The hatch of the ship opens, but the aliens do not emerge. Elena, Olya, and Oleg decide to explore the ship while Yuri warns them that they will all die regardless. The trio discovers the aliens in cryo capsules still asleep. The radio in Oleg's hand activates a timer for the capsules, but Olya cuts the oxygen supply to one of the capsules, killing the alien inside. The three then decide and begin to destroy all the oxygen pipes to kill the remaining aliens in the capsules. When Alyona's gun runs out of bullets, she asks Olya to throw her the axe. However, Alyona hesitates when she realizes that the last remaining capsules contain alien children. Olya stops Oleg, and together the trio decide not to destroy them, and the capsules open and outstep the alien children. The trio voluntarily surrender their weapons, proving their peaceful intentions to the alien children. Enjoy this exhilarating takeover? Sound off your intergalactic thoughts in the comments and brace yourself for more mind-boggling escapades. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.